Hey folks, let's do another common question. This time the question is, was it the case that what happened on January 6, 2021 at the Capitol building an example of election violence? And the answer to that question is yes, it was, of course, by definition. But I want to ask you, because this is an incredibly complicated thing that people have a lot of emotions about, like, try to listen to what I'm actually saying and not to what you are afraid I might be saying or what you would hope that I might be saying, but what I'm actually saying. The answer is yes. There was election violence at the Capitol building on that day. Now, I want to talk about the different groups of people who were present, and I'm not going to talk about them by affiliation or political party or view. I'm going to talk about them by their relationship to violence. So there were some people there who were present that day who came to the Capitol with the specific intention of being violent. There were some people there who had that plan. And then there was this other group of people that was present that day, and they were at the Capitol building, but they were never violent, not at any point during the course of the day. And then there was a third group of people that were present that day that did commit what is technically an act of election violence, but they did not specifically go there with that intention. Rather, they became violent because of the influence of the crowd and the excitement of the day and what was happening around them. Let's think about the definition of election violence. It is physical violence, and yes, there were altercations happening at the Capitol building that day. Severe psychological violence. There were definitely threats to the vice president, the representatives, senators, and the staffs. People were afraid of what was going to happen. And there was property damage. There were people who physically broke into the Capitol building or to rooms within the Capitol building. And there was also a certain amount of vandalism that happened on that day. So what do we learn from an election violence event like January 6, 2021 at the Capitol building? If we're trying to prevent election violence, one of the things that we learn from this is that we don't focus primarily on people who have the intention of being violent. That's actually not the best strategy for election violence prevention. What we want to focus on is primarily the second and third groups that I talked about. So that third group, a group of people that did become violent, but they became violent primarily because of the influences around them in the course of the day. That's a group of people that we can encourage to make a commitment to nonviolence. We can also encourage that group of people to have a whole bunch of other options that are available to them. So this is the role of like civic education and voter education and peace messaging and holding politicians accountable in nonviolent means. That's the group of people that's persuadable, the group of people that's in the middle, not committed to nonviolence and also not committed to violence. And then the people who did not become violent and the people who would not have become violent in the course of the day, what we can do for that group of people is help them to know how to interrupt the patterns of violence that are unfolding around them, how to name what they're hearing in people's language and pay attention to warning signs and talk to their neighbors and their friends and even to strangers on the street. So was January 6, 2021 an election violence incident? Yes, absolutely. Was everybody behaving in the same ways? No. And there's something that we can really learn from the behavior of the group on that particular day.